finally a break. I guess it's time to check my email. What is this? I need to conference with you in my office as soon as possible. I have an urgent matter to speak with you about. Principal Hudson. Oh gosh, I better go now.
Come in.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Oh, it's fine, Miss Sickles. Mr. Soto was here on time.
Hello. What's going on?
I actually called you in today because I want to talk to you about your current performance at the school. You see, Mr. Soto is a very effective teacher, and he shows some traits that you lack, and you have proven to be a bit of an ineffective teacher. Has proven to be actually very flexible in the classroom. Mr. Soto, can you give us an example of a time that you performed flexibly?
Yeah, of course. I like to get involved in after-school activities. I also help get the kids on their bus, and I don't just always run out, tell the bell. And I can work tutorials with kids, have more days available for them. They can come either in the morning or in the afternoon. It will work just fine. They just have to let me know I'm flexible with that.
Interesting. Do you have a social life by any chance?
I sure do.
Oh, really?
This is how he effectively teaches.
That's interesting.
I'm taking notes. Perhaps you should. Also, Mr. Soto, he teaches to a wide range of students. He's very diverse as a teacher. Mr. Soto, can you give us examples of how you teach diversely to a very varied class?
Of course. As you can see, I am bilingual. Puedo hablar en español y en inglés. So
Wait, what?
I can teach
Can you repeat that?
I can give instructions to my students in English and Spanish,
Okay.
which
I
will
don't know
help them.
Spanish. Sorry.
So you, on the other hand, you have some difficulties with that because you are a Caucasian female. You seem to only teach to Caucasian females, and you have a hard time reaching your other students. Also, we have a welcoming environment. Mr. Soto, his last class was gorgeous, extraordinary. The colors everywhere. The kids loved it. Can you give examples, Mr. Soto, of how you have created a welcoming environment for
Of
yours?
course. I always stand by the door every morning. I greet my students, ask them how they're doing. I always ask if they did anything fun the day before. I welcome them in and just feel like a welcoming environment. And I could tell if a student is feeling in a great mood or in a bad mood, and I can go off based on that.
Sounds like a great way to start your day. And Miss Sickles, how do you start your day?
Well, I didn't really take much time this summer to plan that because I was traveling. But I do say hello and greet them at the door in the morning.
Well, you see, Mr. Soto also travels, but his classroom was very, very impressive. Another thing that you seem to lack a little bit that Mr. Soto has under control is engaging lessons. Mr. Soto, how do you keep your students engaged in what you're teaching?
Well, a couple ways I keep my students engaged into the lesson. I always get down on my knee to their eye level, get close to them, make sure how they're performing on their worksheet. I also try to just randomly keep a ball and I toss it to them. They can answer when they catch the ball. They answer and then throw it back, engage them into the lesson. Kind of an active lesson.
Right.
To
I'm
enjoy.
sure they enjoy the kinesthetic
absolutely.
catching of the ball to answer those
Are
questions.
you not afraid of catching their germs by getting them to
No, absolutely not. It's part of being a teacher.
I feel like I would just catch their germs, so I stay a little bit further back.
Mhm.
And then I noticed that my students like the smart board a lot, so that's why I do the smart board activities.
Smart board. So what do the children do while you work on the smart board?
Oh, they come up and we use the smart board.
Also a good plan. It seems that you're improving on that. One other thing I'd like to talk about is your behavior management. Ms. Sickles, I've noticed that your class is a bit out of control at times. You have a hard time keeping them reined in and paying attention. Mr. Soto, he has procedures and routines set in place so that isn't an issue. Can you tell us a little bit more about your behavior management?
Yeah, of course. Like she said, my procedures and routines. I always if a student is misbehaving, I just simply ask them, what are the procedures and routines, like Harry Wong.
Oh.
Harry Wong, Mr. Soto went to a Harry Wong workshop and learned quite a bit from there. You should attend sometime.
One of those. Maybe it will help me with procedures and routines
Maybe so.
and behavior of the classroom.
Another thing that Mr. Soto has made of importance in his classroom is the clear goals that he has set for his students. He's always had them, very aware of what they're supposed to be learning. Can you tell us a little bit about how you communicate to your students what they're supposed to know?
Yeah, of course. Like she said, I have a post of my goals for my students.
Okay.
I keep clear goals of where we are coming closer as we get to the objective. So I always restate my objective to the students and check that we are getting closer to reaching my objective. And like she said, I have it posted in there so the students can see that we're not proceeding.
And what are your goals for your students? How do you communicate those?
Well, I have them set up in the back of the classroom on a bulletin board, but I like to play it by ear sometimes because some days it works better with the lesson, some days it doesn't. So sometimes I just switch out the objectives for the students to learn.
So would you describe your goals as clear to your students, and do they thoroughly understand those?
Sometimes, not always.
Sometimes, okay. Also, you lack a little bit of knowledge of curriculum, and Mr. Soto actually does some extended education to revamp and revisit his curriculum. So, Mr. Soto, how do you do that? How do you?
Yeah, after school or I take a day of training on a workshop. I always keep updated of the curriculum that we are currently teaching. I like to be updated so I can be on the right track with the other teachers and what the state is requiring.
When is the last time that you took some training to get more knowledge of your curriculum?
Before I started this job,
Okay.
I haven't had time.
Oh, you lack time. All right. Well, you see, Mr. Soto, he is a true professional. He is an effective teacher, and he dresses like a professional with his button down and his slacks. And as you noticed, Mr. Soto was on time today.
Sorry I was late.
You were struggling to be here on time. Also, Mr. Soto says that he creates reflections. Can you show us what you mean by that when you reflect on your work?
Yeah, of course.
You're very prepared, Mr. Soto.
I always write out my reflections. I keep them neatly every day. I write out some reflections over my lessons and go over them.
What do you write on your reflections?
Yeah, just how the students reacted to the lesson and a few statements of how I could make a better lesson for them.
Right. Do you write about the things that went wrong and right,
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
so you make edits to them?
Yeah, I edit my lessons depending on the student results.
Do you change your lessons often, Miss Sickles?
Well, I usually make them in advance, so I never really go back and reflect or make changes to my lessons.
So your lessons are not evolving, and then they stay the same
Most of the time.
All right, I see. Last week, Miss Sickles, you failed to turn your lesson plan in on time. I really needed to review that before you taught it. What happened there?
Well, you see, I had it and it was on my desk and it was all written out, and somehow when I went to go back to look for it, it was not there. Or it was under a stack of paper or
Oh,
something.
so you lost it.
It's possible.
Okay. How do you keep up with all of your work and lesson plans?
Yeah, on my computer I keep a folder with a file that says lesson plans. I keep them organized. I sort them in dates as the week gonna go by and narrow it down so I can keep them organized and not accidentally misplace them or lose them.
Yes, that's a very unfortunate thing when you misplace or lose lesson plans. I'm glad that you have something implemented to keep you so organized. So, in conclusion, Ms. Sickles, you've done some great work here at the elementary school, but it seems that Mr. Soto kind of has his ducks in a row and is a true effective teacher. So I'm sorry, but Mr. Soto is going to be taking over your class for the rest of the year, and you can pick up your final paycheck and get your things from the classroom.
Thanks.
So.
Maybe I'll learn from your effective teaching one day.
Yeah, you should.